So this is like the big story in PlayStation land right now. Mm-hmm. Dustin, what is it about Days Gone that we just can't quit it? Like, people can't stop talking about Days Gone. And I don't know if it's because these guys can't stop talking about it. First of all, I really like John Garvin, and I really like Jeff Ross, and I really like Michael Mumbauer. Jeff Ross is a much quieter character, but it is clear that Mumbauer and Garvin have a chip on their shoulder, no doubt. And I get it, and I understand it. I have many chips on my shoulders from things that have happened to me over the years, no doubt. But you've gotta just let it be, I think, at some point. And throwing people under the bus, I just think is a bad look. It doesn't make John look like the nice, decent person that I know he is, because I know him. And I don't know, what is it about this game and there's such contention around this game. I think it's because, as I said, it doesn't stack up, I think, objectively to some of these other games, even though I love it.
Yeah, it's definitely a bad look. I mean, you mentioned, first of all, throwing other people under the bus, but to just start pointing fingers about why the reviews weren't right. You know what I mean? It just feels bad, especially coming off when you don't have anything new to show for. Like, maybe you can start pointing fingers when you have your next game is a smash hit or something, but you're kind of already in a weakened spot at this point. And I mean no disrespect to John Garvin overall, but you don't get to post a tweet blaming woke journalists, and then a follow-up tweet that he made was, wow, I guess I'm paraphrasing, but it basically was, I guess the word woke really triggered some people. You don't get to say that and then put your social media on lockdown. You just simply don't do that.
Yeah, I've never locked my Twitter account one time. I never really understood what it was supposed to do.
So this is you're right. This game just seemingly keeps coming up, despite the fact that we have not only moved on, but it's been re-released and it was in a good state on PC and it kind of had a second life.
There were a lot of reviews around Days Gone, and I don't remember a single one of them being about how unwoke the game is.
Yeah, I don't either.
You know, like I don't either. Like, was it really like edgy? Was it really that edgy to have me walk slowly with my wife on the fucking shoreline picking flowers out of the ground? Like, is that really an edgy experience? Was it really like and there was that line too of like, oh man, promise you ride me just as often as you ride your bike. And it's like, it wasn't because it's offensive. It's just so lame.
And people get upset about that because it is, they claim it is, I don't know if I have any inquiries here from it, that they claim it's taken out of context. That,
oh, come on.
Because it's a reference to something she said earlier in the game. So it's not like, it makes it look so stupid when it's just a line, but it's actually referential. And I do understand that's unfair.
I understand it's referential. I understand the context of it, but it's still, man, you had an actor read that. It's just like, it's
Sam Witwer, a pretty big actor, which is even funnier.
Yeah. Sam Witwer, I'm pretty sure he's in Callisto. But I think I don't know. It's just, the game wasn't very good. It was fine. It was especially compared to other Sony first party. Like, I'm sorry, it is the weakest one. Like by a lot. Not even just on a technical perspective, but you know, story and character and design. Like the best elements of that game don't show up until you're really, really deep into it. And it's like, who did that?
Yeah, that's crazy. The zombie hordes were awesome. That was like the coolest part of the gameplay, I think.
Yeah,
but you don't even unlock that until deep into the game.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's more than just coding that was wrong with that game. It was a lot. It wasn't about, because I didn't like it, and I don't consider myself a particularly woke person. I'm not gonna be like, oh, a gruff biker guy, I can't stand this. It was more just like, it was just not particularly enthralling, and you got to just sort of take your losses and just move forward. And it's, I don't know. It always strikes me as a little annoying when people harp on things from this long ago at this point. Like, I understand the chip on your shoulder. I understand like still feeling some type of way about it, but to like tweet and then delete tweets and then, you know, bring other people into the situation as well that like have probably moved on and are doing very, very different things. Like I would hate for people to bring my name up about something that happened like years ago, and now I'm being talked about, even though I said nothing, and I'm just trying to relax. I just think it's a lame move. Just move forward, make a new thing, and find success in that, because this just comes across as like very, very bitter.
Yeah, I'll admit that I emailed John when I saw this just to, offer him support and just tell him I'd love to have him on the show if he ever wanted to come talk about the situation there, because I'm sure he's NDA'd, but I doubt the NDA is permanent. Most aren't. And I would also imagine that it's a pretty interesting story. I mean, it's clearly a struggle behind the scenes for the control of the company.
Yeah.
The thing is that I don't think Garvin is wrong about some of the things he says, but again, I just don't think it's appropriate to put it out there like this. And I think he probably knows that, but the game, it's so funny because it's funny that I share the opinion of the game's creative director from before. Remember when we played it, I'm like, this game is getting killed because of the patchlessness of it. And it would probably, I think Days Gone would have scored 5 to 10 points higher on Metacritic if it was appropriately patched, and everyone that bought the game played it that way, which is why I think there's a little bit of a disconnect between the way people feel about it out there and maybe the way critics felt about it, although there's not that much of a disparate nature between it. But the one thing I will say is, and actually I'll let Richard J say it for me. He says, "Hello, CDC. What are your thoughts on John Garvin blaming woke game journalists as one of the reasons for Days Gone's bad sales? I don't remember any discussions about the game being woke when it was released. And why is John Garvin still talking about the bad sales of the game after all this time? He really seems to take the bad sales of the game personally. I don't think the game sold badly. I mean, we're looking at something that sold like 10 million copies. It's just, that's not sufficient for a 7 or 8 year gap in releases. So, supporting your studio, and they don't see enough to build off of there. So it's probably frustrating because it's not bad sales. In other words, it's not like the game washed out. He looks at something, it's on the edge, it's on the margin where it could have gone one way or the other. I think they could have been like, I think if you got Scott Rhodey and the decision makers at PlayStation Studios together and flipped the coin, I would imagine half the time they would have been like, yeah, let's greenlight Days Gone 2. They put so much time and effort into the first one, you might as well take it. So I think the coin flip came out the other side. But I recall, listen, I'm really tuned in to social commentary and political commentary in games, and I don't remember any of that, to Chris's point either. I don't remember anyone saying that the game was in any way not woke enough or whatever. The one thing he says that he might have data on that we don't is if people played the game all the way through, which I think is relevant. And I'm surprised players don't do that because it's so easy to track that today. People used to and did get away with not playing games back in the day, no doubt, when they would review them, preview them, do whatever. But with the rise of achievements and trophies, it's just not possible anymore. And I've brought it up in the past, but I remember around the time I started working at IGN, there was someone at GameSpot that was fired because they reviewed an MMO and played it for like 30 minutes. And then when they were confronted, apparently, as I recall, they were like, no, we didn't. And the devs are like, we can literally see how long you were logged in. I don't understand like what the dispute is. So people don't really try this shit anymore. So I don't know exactly what that's all about, but the woke stuff, it's not a good word. I try not to use that word. It reminds me a lot of, well, I can't even think of some of these other words. I don't like some of these social commentary. Oh, like social justice warrior and stuff like that. I know what you mean, and you're right when you bring these things up most of the time or sometimes, but we got to figure out a different way to talk about it. And we can't be casting aspersions at things that didn't suffer from that. This isn't 6 Days in Fallujah or some of the sexual stuff in with sexism in a game like Red Dead 2 or Grand Theft Auto 5 or it's different. So I don't know. That seems, so in other words, I think John Garvin's right about one of the things he's saying about the technical part of the game. I think it's questionable he's saying about the reviewers, because I don't know that that's true. And then I think he's totally off base with the woke stuff. But John, if you're listening to this and you might be, email me, let's talk. But keep your head down. You're working on something fun and exciting. You have a good partner in Michael Mumbauer. I'd say you just, and this is what I said in our Discord when people were talking about it, the best revenge in any situation is winning. Period. You can get all sorts of other satisfaction out of all sorts of other things and schadenfreude and all that, which is fine. But the best way to get one over on those that did you wrong in your eyes is to just beat them. So make Ashfall sell 20 million copies.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. I mean, it's a big ask, but that's the real win. Make them miss you and regret it. But nonetheless, John, thank you for being a friend of the show, and we hope to hear from you.